I was in a really, really, really bad place. And I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook. And I was like, oh, what the heck? I'm never going to meet him. Except, well, one thing led to another. And 8 years later, we have 2 kids. We live in Colorado. And he's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
We did it again.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens. Wow.
Hi.
You're Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. So what's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
Right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9. And I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls. And she was very distraught over the weekend, wasn't eating normally or drinking. And we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today.
Okay.
Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from SHANANN since you left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are by the front door.
She only has 1 vehicle. Hey, Chris, Officer Coonrod for the police department. Pretty good. So, do you have any idea where your wife is? Okay. Right. Well, my concern is her car's here. They're saying she is diabetic. I don't want her, if she's upstairs and can't respond. Okay. About how far out are you? Okay. All right. Thanks.
The neighbor has a camera system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. Hang on. Yeah, get me on the phone. Okay, get Matt on the phone.
Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay.
That's me. Yeah. The neighbors went and checked his cameras and he said that a white car drove away at 1. It was me though. That was me. I dropped her off.
That was the last action on my camera.
Okay. That's throughout the whole day, or?
Besides Chris leaving?
Well, yeah,
Can we go in the house?
we can.
I mean, that's up to him. It's his house. If you guys.
Nikki, I'm giving you permission to walk in my daughter's house.
You checked upstairs? She's not there? I just want to make sure she's not passed out somewhere.
All the girls' blankies are gone. Their blankies they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere without them.
Okay. Nothing else appears to be missing, though? Just
No.
stuff you'd take for a quick trip?
You're at full range.
Her phone's here? Her phone's here.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works, this is her lifeline.
She tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, the last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she's going to take the kids to a friend's house, and she asked where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today. I've never heard anything. But the car's here. Car
Right.
seats are here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her.
Right. Who do you guys bank with?
Chase and USA.
Definitely an odd one.
I don't know what.
I don't see Kristen. And she was up with her screen also. Anybody right there?
It's on the nightstand next to her, so I was
Is it off when she goes to bed?
takes off the hair.
What time do you work?
Usually, once I get to work, it's like 6:30 to 3:30, 4 o'clock.
You usually work nights or days?
Days.
What time do you leave the day?
What time to leave there? Come
No, here.
Usually between 5:30 and 6.
Alright. And was Shannon here then?
Yes. Yeah, she's still in bed. At 5:27 a.m., the overhead garage door 2 was left open and never shut. About that time. So either like when I pulled away and shut the door, it never shut. It was shut when you got here.
Yeah.
So either the sensor was tripping out, which has happened before, but I had to replace it 2 weeks ago. Before I left. It says the basement door was left open at 5:26. Visitor checked at 1:48, that's when she got home.
There was no note or anything by the wedding ring?
No. I put it back where it was earlier on.
You guys having any kind of issues, marital issues, or
We're going through separation.
you are? Did you guys file it yet or anything, or just talking about it?
No, we're gonna sell the house and do a separation.
And how's that going?
It's going
Civil for the most
civil,
part, or?
yeah.
What's that?
Your neighbor's camera.
Your neighbor, he has cameras. He said that the only people that left the house was you in the morning and then the door shut and then
Me.
that's all he has.
I dropped her off.
Okay. But who left and then just, okay.
We usually park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. Be easier to lugging everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in.
Nothing for the rest of the day?
No, that's it. She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
15 weeks. That's why her friend said it was low blood sugar.
Alright, appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Hopefully something comes up, dude.
Yeah.
Mind if you just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
He never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
are you, Chris?
Chris, yes.
Chris Officer Lyons with the Frederick Police Department,
How's it
Officer Perez.
Hi.
And we've got Boulder County Sheriff's Office. She can't.
Yeah.
Hey, so we brought in some extra resources to try to locate your family.
Okay.
With your permission, we've got 3 different canines available. We'd like to collect some scent and kind of get the dogs in motion if you're good with that.
Okay.
They are going to need to come inside the house, kids' rooms, any of your wife's articles, anything like that.
Okay.
Is that okay with you? And you do understand it's completely voluntary?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we'll just let her get started and we'll be in the area.
Certainly downstairs when we first came in, that was interesting. But that could have been an argumentative place too.
Did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
If your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
SHANANN, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back. It gets pretty emotional because we have 2 beautiful kids and we have 1 on the way. So it's just a matter of, like, it was very emotional. We were both crying, and at the end, we just said, you know, she said she was going to take the kids to her friend's house for the day. She would be back. Okay. I was like, okay, it's fine.
Before 2018, did you ever say anything out of anger to a loved one?
Yes. No.
Do you know where SHANANN is now?
No.
Did you physically cause SHANANN's disappearance?
No.
You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
Chris, stop. It's time. Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
I cheated on her.
I know. And this is very good. Keep
I'm not proud of it. Like, I didn't think anything like that could happen. I didn't think I'd ever do it, but I did. I don't want her involved in this.
Okay. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
I knew that you would say you didn't want to get her involved. Because you'd like to take care of people.
She's a wonderful person. Like, I mean, she knew I was married, yes. And I told her we were going through issues, yes.
Yes.
And I told her that, you know, we were going to get, you know, at the end, like, we were going to get separated. Like, once I figured out what that was, I didn't know what that was going to be.
I know.
I had no idea. I like, you know, I saw her, took my breath away, and I'd never thought in a million years that could happen.
I know.
I don't even think of a figure, but like, it was, I never felt that way about anybody in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Chris, that's not your fault.
No, I'm just.
Well, can we do this? I know you want to take care of her because it's because you're the type of guy that takes care of women. It is. You took care of your wife. You took care of your daughters. You were very good at taking care of her, and you want to take care of her. So can we make a deal? I don't think this girl did anything to hurt anybody, but I can't walk out of here wondering. So can we leave her out of it?
Okay.
And get back to your wife and your daughters.
Okay.
Where are they?
That I do not know. Can I talk to my dad or something?
Absolutely.
Do
you want to bring him in here?
No, I just can't talk to my dad. Like, he flew across the country.
How about this? If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened?
Can I just go talk to him? I've been in here for like 5 or 6 hours. And
Anything else you want to tell me? What's going on, or what happened, or anything? Or you know anything about?
when we had that conversation that morning, it was emotional and told her about separation and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. What happened after that?
I mean, I went downstairs and I don't want to protect her.
What?
I don't want to protect her.
You don't want to protect her?
I don't know what else to say.
What happened? Huh? She hurt him?
Yeah. And then I freaked out.
What now?
I freaked out and I hurt her.
You hurt her?
Will you tell us what you told your dad?
After that conversation,
Water, something?
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
After that conversation we had, and she accused me of the affair, and in her heart, she knew what was going on. And she knew about the dinner the other night. It was too much for just me.
Chris, son, stand up for me. I'm going to have you face that wall over there. Yep, just face it. Lift up your hands. Okay, go and face this wall.
So the court has considered the arguments made by the attorneys. The court has considered the statements made by the victims in this case. The court's going to find that the plea agreement is fair and reasonable under the circumstances. I want to acknowledge the RZUCEK family as well as the Watts family that showing mercy on Mr. Watts is understood, and I respect that decision to request that the district attorney not seek the death penalty in this case. And so the court is going to accept this plea bargain under the circumstances. Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and the viciousness of the crime. And equally aggravating in this court's determination is the despicable act of disposing of the bodies in the manner in which they were done in this case. I've been a judicial officer now for starting my 17th year, and I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to SHANANN Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to counts 4 and 5 relating to Bella and Celeste as a different theory of first-degree murder, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and legally those sentences must run concurrently as a different theory of first-degree murder. Recognizing the unlawful termination of pregnancy for the unborn child that has been named Nico, the court absolutely believes that the maximum sentence of 48 years would be appropriate to run consecutive to the other charges, with an additional mandatory parole period of 3 years as set forth by statute. With regard to count number 7, as it relates to tampering with a deceased body, as well as counts 8 and 9, each a Class 3 felony, the court is going to impose a maximum sentence of 12 years each for those counts to run consecutively to the other counts.
As you all, I'm sure, are aware, the defendant in this case this morning was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, plus a 48-year sentence for the unlawful termination of a pregnancy as it relates to Nico Watts. He was also sentenced to 12 years on each of the 3 Class 3 felonies for unlawful tampering with a deceased body, those being SHANANN, Bella, and Celeste. All of those counts ran consecutively for a total of 3 consecutive life sentences plus 84 years in the Department of Corrections. This afternoon, with the cooperation of the Weld County Coroner, the autopsy reports will be made available and become a public document. There are a few things that I want to talk about that you will see that are contained within those autopsy reports. I'm going to be very general at this point. I hope you understand, out of respect for the RZUCEK family who is still present. Part of the reason that we kept these sealed were for the following reasons. You will see in the autopsy report of SHANANN Watts that forensic toxicology testing indicated that in spleen blood there was a blood alcohol level of 0.128. I want to be abundantly and very, very clear about this. This does not mean that she consumed alcohol, nor that she was intoxicated. We have consulted with the Weld County Coroner's Office. We have conducted with the forensic experts at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. To a person, they have all indicated to us that that blood alcohol level is very, very consistent with normal human decomposition based upon the location and the manner that SHANANN and Nico's bodies were buried. Secondly, you will see in the autopsy reports of Bella and Celeste a number of different substances, I think is probably the way, Mr. Blesh, that I want to address those. We have had those examined by both expert chemists as well as the coroner's office, because we wanted to make sure that all of those substances could be attributed to the crude oil and the water that their bodies were found in, and nothing more. The forensic experts confirmed for us that all of the substances found in those toxicology reports are consistent with being submerged in unrefined crude oil. Mr. Blesh, any other comments you want to make about that at this point?
Covered it well, sir.
Thank you. Other than that, I'm happy to take questions. Obviously, from our perspective, justice was more than served this morning. The defendant is now headed exactly where he belongs, which is a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole.